Hmm. What does this do to the opposition politics? There has been a lot of talk about the divisions within the opposition ranks, the end of the India bloc that was formed with much fanfare for the Lok Sabha verdict. What happens now to opposition politics?
As I said, today's verdict is a setback for the entire opposition.
Hmm.
That's how the opposition should see it, rather than this little one-upmanship games that we
Hmm.
see. Because BJP is into total dominance, and everyone, सबका number आएगा इसमें, कोई नहीं बचेगा इससे. So that's
Hmm.
important. Having said it, I think it must also be registered that today's verdict opens an opportunity for the opposition.
Hmm.
uh, तुम महाराष्ट्र हार गए तो हम दिल्ली हार गए. So there's no one-upmanship anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone is in the same boat. We better come together. Time to put our heads together. Time to say, okay, stop this little one-upmanship. Farooq Abdullah has said something to that effect today. Uh,
Yeah.
Irrespective of that,
I mean,
I agree
Omar
with you.
Abdullah went on Twitter to say, "Or lado aapas mein." It was his son,
Sorry,
Omar
sorry.
Abdullah.
I should
Huh.
have said Omar
Yeah,
Abdullah,
yeah.
not Farooq. Sorry.
He said, "Or lado aapas mein, or lado aapas
So while I agree with your analysis that Congress and Aam Aadmi parties coming together alone would not have reversed this victory. We cannot just do mathematical addition.
mein." That's right.
The fact
Yeah.
is that many of the votes that came to Congress would not have gone to the Aam Aadmi party. These were anti-Aam Aadmi party votes that
Hmm.
came to Congress. They may not have gone to if they had an alliance. So I agree with you. We cannot say that the result is only because the opposition was not united. But the fact is that post Maharashtra, India coalition has not looked like a coalition. Post Maharashtra, the internal squabbling, little one-upman game, and general lethargy has taken over. That's exactly what the BJP needs and wants. So yes, it's time. And so in a sense, this rude shock may be an opportunity for all of them to now come together and say, forget it, we'll not play these small games with each other. Let's focus on the big thing. And there is a big lesson as well, Barkha, something that we
Hmm.
need to talk about. Today's verdict tells you one thing clearly. You cannot take on the BJP and defeat the BJP by believing in BJP's own ideology, which is exactly what Aam Aadmi Party did. And you must have spoken to Aam Aadmi Party leaders who would tell you, देखो अब बीजेपी की आइडियोलॉजी के फ्रेम के अंदर ही पॉलिटिक्स करनी पड़ेगी, इसके बाहर तो देयर इज नो. So you
Hmm.
have to be more hindutva than BJP. If they say Jai Shri Ram, you have to say Jai Hanuman. And the absolutely shocking silence of Aam Aadmi Party during Delhi riots, their
Hmm.
conduct during the bulldozers operations in Delhi, all
Hmm.
these things basically indicated, and Aam Aadmi Party, this was not a lapse on their part. This was a strategy. The strategy was that we would be more pro-Hindu than the BJP. We will compete with BJP in being more pro-Hindu. You remember
Hmm.
this whole farcical thing about Rohingyas, the few hundred Rohingyas that you have in Delhi, the
Hmm.
complete farce that was played out. What was the point? The point was to say we would be more anti-Rohingya than BJP.
Hmm.
Now, today's verdict shows you the limits to that too clever by half strategy. You cannot take on the BJP by following BJP's own ideology. If
But
you may succeed in
at
one,
the same time, sorry to interrupt, at the same time, you need your own idiom to take on the BJP, an idiom that
and
has resonance with people at large, not just people who already believe what you believe. You have to be able
absolutely,
to
Barkha.
communicate with people who don't think like
Barkha, we've spoken about that
you. Yes,
several times,
yes,
and I've repeatedly said secular idiom has lost touch with the people and so on and so forth.
yeah.
So you have to take on BJP's majoritarian politics. You have to take on their ideology. You have to have their own your own ideology, which cannot merely be reiteration of secular progressive language that has been used in the past. Uh, but it has to be a serious alternative to the BJP. You
That's right.
cannot follow the BJP. Soft Hindutva is not going to win you elections. That's one thing the entire opposition has learned, I hope. So there is an opportunity for opposition to come together in this moment of defeat, share the defeat rather than score those little points vis-a-vis each other. Share the defeat and see the big picture ahead.
Let's talk about what you call the BJP's pursuing complete political dominance. The BJP has actually very distinctly changed its blueprint for elections after the Lok Sabha knock to its majority, right? And the template is there to see. Sparing use of the prime minister. He's no longer the front face, dominant face of every assembly election. The RSS is back in full force. The organization is driving the election, not the individual. There's no individual centric campaign. Delhi, they didn't even bother necessarily projecting one individual. And in Delhi, very interestingly, it wasn't a typical BJP campaign. It wasn't a Hindu Muslim campaign. So something is shifting in the BJP's blueprint as it pursues this political dominance.
That's the point, Barkha. BJP learns from its defeat. The opposition does not learn either from defeat or from victory. They do not realize what has given them partial victory, and they do not see what has given them defeat. They talk about election commission. I also talk about election commission because election commission's conduct is reprehensible. This is just disgraceful. But is that the only reason why they are losing elections? Something more has to be done. So it looks like a classic difference between what used to be the Australian cricket team a decade or 2 decades ago, and what used to be the Indian team a decade or 2 decades ago.
Yeah,
Australian team had a strategy. They could ask their best batsmen to come 4 down, or they could ask their bowler to open the innings.
yeah.
They could ask their best player to sit out for a match.
Hmm.
They had a strategy, and they executed that strategy ruthlessly. This is what the BJP does. I'm no admirer of BJP. I mean, this is no secret.
Yeah.
But I do admire their capacity as an organization to carry out their own. They have a strategy to begin with, and they have
Hmm.
a capacity to carry out that strategy, and they have a capacity to align individual ambitions with organizational ambitions. All organizations are driven by individual ambitions. Political organizations particularly, most of the people on the ground are political entrepreneurs who are looking for
Yeah.
their political career.
Yeah.
BJP has found a way to align their personal ambitions and drive with organizational gains. The opposition, on the other hand, mostly suffers from this. This does not apply to Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party is not a complacent party. Aam Aadmi Party has also had a strategy and has executed its own strategy,
Hmm.
which has flopped. So it's time to realize that that strategy does not work. But opposition in general does not show the capacity to learn from mistakes, has not demonstrated capacity to put its house in order. And this is the moment to do so.